Hi, everybody. It's Jen Lee here with Red Thread Studio. It's the first Thursday in August, and I'm coming to you with our third installment of our featured designer series. And today I kind of wanted to change it up a little bit. And we have a different type of guest on. So we don't have a quilt designer, but instead we have Paul Aleta with Paul's Hand Turn Creations. And they hand turn resin to turn it into beautiful items. So I am so excited to share them with all of you. So I see some folks joining in. Hi, Carol and Carolyn. Thank you for joining. Let us know where you're calling in from. We'd love to know. So I will bring on Aleta and Paul here momentarily, but we'll give people a few seconds to join before we get started. So for those of you who are not in the UFO Challenge group, I touched base live yesterday. We were fortunate to have been unscathed by the latest hurricane that came up the Florida coast and now is continuing on up the eastern seaboard. But also Paul and Aleta, they are in Southport, North Carolina, so they too had to make preparations for the storm. And so thankful for that. We have now Laura joining, Doreen and Carmen and Anita. We've Anita coming in all the way from Washington. We've got Carol in Houston, Laura in Miami, and Carmen in Idaho. So this is just so cool to me. Despite everything that's gone on with COVID and being quarantining, I do feel it's opened up an avenue for me to connect with you guys here online in the social setting. A lot of you get to see more of me than I do of you, but looking to put together some Zoom events so we can maybe have some sit and sews as well. So I see Wendy Hedrick joined, and my mom Kathy, who's taking the name Red Thread Studio today from Cape Coral. So hi everybody. So again, for those of you just joining, today I'm going to be interviewing Aleta and Paul Brosseau. They're joining in from Southport, North Carolina, and Paul is a hand turner, so he turns resin on lathes, and his wife Aleta is the mastermind behind all of the color schemes going on in their products. So they make pens, Seamrippers, keychains, crochet hooks, spoons, and more. And I see all of you who are commenting, just so that you know, if you have any questions, feel free as we go through the interview with Paul and Aleta to pop them in on the Facebook comments, and we'll try to answer those for you. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in Aleta and Paul. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Let me, I'll just remove this little banner here. There we go. So we have officially Paul's Hand Turn Creations here with us today. How are you guys?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Yep. We, as you know, came unscathed from that hurricane, and I think you guys did as well. So that's always weight off of our shoulders, I know, here in Florida.
Well, and it's funny because this was our first hurricane we stayed for, only because everyone kept saying it's going to be just a tropical storm. But then when it got closer, it turned into a Category 1, but it was strong. I mean, even the locals said that the winds were probably some of the strongest that they've stayed for. So we feel pretty good that we stuck it out. Nothing happened with our house. We just had one tree down, but that's, fine. So we're very thankful and blessed that, we are unharmed by that. So, yeah.
Oh, good. Good. Yeah. So I met Aleta and Paul actually this past January at a strategic retreat here in Fort Myers, Florida. And it's just fun to, outside the quilting world, have connection with other folks as we think about our businesses and how do we address the challenges. And at that time, not even really knowing how COVID was going to impact our personal lives and our businesses as well. And so what I found is it's been really neat to connect with you guys. Even though we're in different industries, we still have sort of a common touch point when it comes to your products and and the things that we sell here at Red Thread Studio, and one of which is the Jack. We warmly refer to him as Jack the Seamripper. And so this is actually one of Aleta and Paul's Seamripper products. It's a dual Seamripper. So you have a larger blade and a smaller blade on either side. And I'm going to put that a little closer for folks to see. These are essential in our sewing toolkits. I know I keep mine in my to-go bag, and I have another one in my sewing kit here in the studio by the sewing machine. But what's also really cool is you can put them back in so you're not hurting yourself otherwise. So Paul, Aleta and Paul, why don't you tell everybody how you guys got started? I mean, what brought you to lathe and hand turning different products?
Well, it was several years ago. I had a boss, and he was supposed to make me a pen and pencil set, and he was doing woodworking at the time, wood turning, and he moved down to Florida, actually down to Vero Beach, and he never never made my pen and pencil set. So I went home one day and I told Aleta to give me a check, asked her for the checkbook because she doesn't trust me with too much money, and so she gave me the riot act why I need the checkbook,
and honestly, I had never heard of turning or a wooden pen. I just thought you just bought, Bics. I never heard of it. So he had to Google it and show me what he was actually talking about. And that was 4 years ago.
So I got my equipment, and I got my drill press and my lathe, and brought it home, and up in Vermont, we were in Vermont at that time, and took it through the snow and got it down in my basement, and off to the races we went. That's how we got started. So now my old boss, which is he's leaving Florida and going to Tennessee. Now I make my pens for him because he's got a consulting. So
Okay.
I sell them to him. So
excellent. So you started with the pen and pencil first?
Yeah, we started with a pen and pencil set, and we still carry the pen and pencil set, and we also have it's a lighter pen, and that's when we started with. I've made modifications to it. So Aleta gets the first of everything, so she's got the first one, and so.
All right, so the collection edition.
Yes, I get everything, whether it's good or bad.
Well, sometimes you get surprises that come from the non-intended, right?
Correct.
And that part of the process of trying, I'm sure, the different colors and combinations that you're going to use when you're putting the resin component together. So tell a little bit about the process for hand turning, starting with the resin process.
So I do all of the resin work, and initially I didn't. Paul would buy what's called like a block. He would, we normally, back when he first started turning resin, he would just purchase that. But then he found out he didn't like it. And so we had a discussion about like maybe I could start the resin work. Well, I did a lot of researching and trying different types of resins. And actually I found a guy in Florida. Florida seems to be a common thing. And I've been using his resin now for almost 2 years. I love it. Paul loves turning it. It's not brittle. And this is actually a block of resin that I made yesterday. I'll bring it so you can see. Peacock. It's got some greens and blues and purples into it. So I start out like this, and it'll sit. This is curing right now. He can't, cut into it for another couple days. Now go and tell what you do. So
when she makes this resin, she makes it in those big blocks like she just showed you, or she'll make some smaller ones depending upon what we're doing. But she'll put the dyes and the colors in there. And the other thing that's kind of cool that she does is she puts mica powders in it. which really kind of makes it shimmer. And
Oh,
when they,
neat. Yeah.
all those colors will go crazy. They make all different designs and whatnot. And then I'll cut it up. Actually, I'll take it out in my shop, my little man cave out back, and I've got a little shop out there, and I'll cut it up, and then I start the process of I cut it into little blocks similar to that one. And then I will start cutting those down actually and to the right size for the product I'm using, whether it be a seam ripper or a pen or a razor or a wire. And then the next process is I have to bore a hole through the center of it, a different size hole for the different products, and insert a brass tube. That brass tube has to be painted if I'm doing resin, as the brass may bleed through the colors. And so I glue it in with a polyurethane glue, which actually expands, so there's no voids in there. I let it set, and then I size it again with a sizing tool that gives me the exact measurement that I need for that piece. And there's a lot of little steps to this. Then
I had no idea. I mean, when you look at the finished piece, and yeah, so this is incredible. And thank you for sharing the detail.
There's a lot of little steps with it, and then it actually gets to be turned. So, and then polished and finished, and it's so
how long?
Quite a little process.
Paul, how long would it take, for example, to make one of these lovely seam rippers?
Well, that seam ripper probably takes, if I did a time study, that would probably take, from start to finish, probably take a couple hours.
Wow.
But the turning is probably 35 minutes or so.
Got it. Okay, so end to end, a couple of hours a piece, and the actual turning piece about 30-35 minutes.
Yeah, I mean turning, and then you got to polish it, and you got to make it shine. That one there does, and then assemble them and get them all together.
So, Aleta, when you showed us your block of your new color peacock, I immediately thought of in the quilting world like batik fabrics, where a lot of those are hand dyed and hand stamped, and you get these unique designs and color patterns. So I'm imagining similarly for your resin pieces, you're getting one of a kinds, right? You're not able to replicate exact pieces.
That's right. I mean, I always go in with a mindset of how I think it's going to look, and it never looks that way, because once the resin, because really when I call it a pour, this had 4 different colors into it. I pour it in a certain way, hoping that it would stay that way. And I pour it at about 130, 140 degrees, but it heats up to almost 200 degrees while it's curing. So it makes its own design. So yes, it's all one of a kind. I can never replicate that design again. Just like any of our products, including the seam rippers, they'll never be 2 alike. It's only that one. Which makes it really unique, because there are, you can buy some resin that's already made and it's all perfect and it all looks the same. You can buy 10 pieces and it'll all look the same. That's kind of what makes us different, is that no 2 pieces are ever alike. They will always be different, even the products, because obviously no 2 pieces of wood are alike. So it's always fun. When I start to pour, I take several pictures, and it's amazing the different during the process of curing, how it changes so much. And then even when it's turned, it's not going to look anything like what I just showed you. So it's fun. It's always like a surprise.
Yeah.
The other thing is when I'm turning it, every pass I take with my tools and cut it down, it changes a little bit. So I've got a new rule in my shop. I really don't turn my machine off until the end, So that way I'm just as surprised what it looks like as maybe somebody else is. I mean, I shut it off during phases, but when I start polishing it or something like that, but I never know what the finished product's going to look like until it's done either. So, and the other, when I turn these, everything we make, a lot of people use what they call duplicators. So the shape of your seam ripper you just showed, I mean, they're all about the same, but I do mine all freehand. So they're no two are, the ones we have sitting here are different than yours. I mean, there might be just a slight difference, but they're all done freehand. There's no duplicators. So
Neat. Neat. And we have a question here from Anita. Anita asks, how do you take care of the piece?
They're very easy. You don't have to do anything with them. He has got these finished so well that, you know, we've had ours for, I don't know, a couple of years, and there's no scratches on it. They're going to shine just as much. I mean, I certainly wouldn't put them in water, but you wouldn't normally put your seam ripper in a water anyway. So,
or just a dry rag or a very slightly, I mean, little dampness if you want, or, but I mean, they are just as smooth as glass.
Mm-hmm.
The wood products and the resin products, both. Our wood products, just so people do know, our wood products are finished with 6 coats of shellac and wax, and the first 2 coats are actually oiled right in, so the oils from your hands won't affect it. That very first pen and pencil set that Aleta has, I mean, it looks like that was 4 years ago, and the finish hasn't worn off it one bit. So,
and I just want to show that this is actually a seam ripper, but it's actually a piece of wood actually as well.
Oh my goodness!
That is birch wood. That is birch. That is all those different colors or different layers that have been dyed and laminated together, and then I turn them. So, but that is actually birch, solid birch.
It's kind of cool looking.
It's very cool looking, and a girl can never have too many seam rippers. So I might just have to go take a look on your website for similar ones. I kind of get obsessive about these seam rippers, and in particular, I like unique items, and I like the look of the resin and the different combinations that it makes, and as well as the play that you can have with the wood products as well. So Karen Feeney Brown says, hello guys, and she's bought products from Aleta and Paul for years. So welcome, Karen, and thanks, that's awesome. And Wendy says these would make a nice present for a quilter. Absolutely. I don't know a quilter who doesn't have a run-in with Jack the Ripper at some point. And they're super high quality, guys. They're just absolutely beautiful products. So,
and actually, and it's all, you know, on the resin. It's fun. Like at the beginning of the spring, it's like I wanted to make something fun for summer. So I came up with what's called a watermelon color combination. Now I'm a little goofy, so I always name my colors. But this one's a double seam ripper. But I thought it was cool. Looks like watermelon.
Sure does.
So
beautiful. So speaking of the color combinations, Aleta, like what is your inspiration? Did you just say, you know, it's summer, it's hot, I'm feeling like I could eat some watermelon right now, let me make a watermelon seam ripper? Like what's your thought process when you're...
I mean, that's pretty much the way it is. I don't ever, when I start pouring, before I add colors, I'm thinking, what does today look like? And like that peacock one that I just showed, you know, it was kind of after the storm, and I kind of wanted something to look a little bit different, but I ended up, just those colors came to me, you know, the purple, the blues, the whites. But that watermelon one, absolutely, we love watermelons. So it's like, you know, that's a fun color. And then we have this one, which is just a nice blue, because we generally always have we generally have nice blue skies here in North Carolina. So
Mm-hmm.
I kind of get inspiration from what's around and outside. I try to have fun colors. I don't want too dark of colors, but you never know. Sometimes it just depends on the moment.
Sure, sure. So do you also do custom orders?
We do, and I get inspiration from people. Sometimes if I'm really stuck on colors, I'll go on our Facebook page and say, hey, you know, give me 3 colors that would look good together and see what happens, you know? And sometimes I've put a block on our website saying, hey, let's name this, you know? And I've come up with really cool, you know, like lemon lime and watermelon. And it's fun. You know, we love having fun with our customers and our followers. And we do absolutely do custom orders. If there's something you don't see on our website, feel free to reach out to us. We do a lot in custom work. I do tell folks any custom piece could take up to 2 weeks because we have to cure the resin. And depending on how many orders that we already have in place, you know, depends on how quick we get to turning it. But we love custom orders because it's always fun. We just recently had to do a seam ripper for a couple ladies that do tie-dye. So we came up with colors that they use a lot, and it came out great, and they loved it. So it's fun. We don't consider this a job at all. You know, our former life, before we moved to North Carolina, we worked at the Department of Corrections. So this is totally different.
Yeah.
This is... We love meeting people, and we have a lot of great time on our Facebook page, and it's just a blast.
Excellent, excellent. We have another question here from Wendy. Wendy says, do you make fobs for holding small tools?
Holding small tools.
Yeah. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your product lineup and whether or not you make something like a fob for holding small tools.
Handle type thing.
No, we don't presently make like a fob for small tools. I mean, what we do have is, I mean, we have the seam rippers, we have the singles and doubles. We do razors. We do several types of pens in the pen and pencil sets, wine toppers, crochet sets.
Wine toppers, yeah.
Couple of different keychains. One is just a kind of a plain Jane, and the other is a safety whistle. There you go. There's one of them.
Yep.
And then the top comes off. Yeah, and the top comes off, and you can put your sewing needles or whatever in there. And then we do ice cream scoops, and we do pizza cutters, and
oh wait, I did not know this.
We do a lot.
Yeah, you can put your sewing in there. A $50 bill if you want some retail therapy money. Put it in there.
That's excellent.
Sewers do use it to put their straight pins in. So if they're working on a project like car or something, where the spouse is driving, they're still able to use it. So that's kind of cool.
Neat.
So,
excellent.
I don't think we do make anything of that sort at this point.
So Anita says, I'll check out your website soon. I get to see my first great-granddaughter. Have a great creating day. Well, you too, Anita. Thank you for joining us. And also, I'm going to I want to put up their website here. So this is Aleta and Paul's website, paulshandturncreations.com. So go check them out. Check out the wonderful products that they have on their website. Obviously, as she said, if you're interested in something, especially from a color perspective that they don't have, they're open to custom orders and working with you on finding something that'll work. And gosh, guys, what else do you want to share with us?
You know, it's funny because I've learned a lot about sewing in the last couple of years. I'm not good at it, and I don't pretend to be, but we do sell a lot of seam rippers. And I've been talking to a lot of people, and they actually, even some of the avid sewers tell me that after I've showed them how to use a seam ripper, you got to be kidding me. All these years I haven't been doing it correctly. So,
tell it, do tell.
So, so here's our seam ripper, and this is kind of cool, with all the cool colors in it and whatnot. I just call this psychedelic, by the way. So of course the seam ripper has, the taller end and then the shorter end with that ball on it. Now I've found over the last couple of years that a lot of people, whoops, I'll get it in the camera here, pretend this is the seam, that they will actually put the longer blade between the seam and the fabric. And it's like, well, you shouldn't do that because that could, actually rip your fabric. So you just turn it and put that ball where your seam is. Hopefully you can see this. Let me get in. Mm-hmm. So the ball end is up top or on the side if it was this way, obviously. It's just easier for me to hold my paper this way. And so with the ball between the seam and the fabric, and then and there you go.
I had no idea. I must admit, I'm one of the ones that would use it with the long blade along the fabric and the thread. And I have, on maybe more occasions than I'd like to share, cut into the fabric. And so what I'm hearing you say is the correct edge is to use, I'm trying to find, there we go, to place the end with the ball, the shorter edge against the seam. Aha.
Correct.
Well, thank you for that. I learn something new every day.
Thank goodness for Dr. Google.
Yeah, so people at our shows that come back and said, you know what, you're right. It's like, yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean, like I said, we're not, we don't to be sewers, but we love creating all these products. And it's just fun. And, we just love it.
That's great.
That's great. We make our products. We make the products with our hands, with your hands in mind. So that's my little thing.
He is a creative one, isn't he?
He's quiet most of the time, but once he opens his mouth, watch out.
Well, I'm just going to give folks a minute. If anybody has any final questions for Paul and Aleta, you should just go ahead and type them in now. And again, we appreciate your spending time here on your Thursday afternoon with us. What do you guys have planned for this weekend?
I think he's going to be turning all weekend. We have a few orders that he's got to really finish up. And I'll probably just be, pouring more resin and having fun. I'm not even sure what the weather's supposed to be like, but we don't have any shows this weekend. We do a local market in town here that I was one of the people that started it. Mm-hmm. And so we just have a very small market twice a month, and all of our vendor fees we give back to the community, to a nonprofit organization, twice a month. So it just helps the community, gets people out. We enjoy meeting people, and it's fun. And, we feel like we have a lot of friends online through our website and through our Facebook page, even though we've probably never met 99% of them. We just feel like we're close to them because we have such a good relationship. So it's fun. That's how I keep saying that it's fun, but it really is.
But that's great. It's really great to hear. Knowing that you found something that you love to do, you get inspired each and every day. You're putting out gorgeous products. And so I was going to ask you, and I've already seemingly lost my thought here. You were talking about your show, and oh yes, so your Facebook page is also Paul's Hand Turn Creations. So folks, if you want to follow them on Facebook, and it looks like I can post a comment today. The other day I couldn't. So it's Paul's Hand Turn Creations is your Facebook page. And we have your website here. So everybody who joined us today, or for anybody who's watching the replay later, please go check out Paul and Aleta's beautiful hand turn creations. And we hope you have a lovely rest of the week and weekend. Stay well, everybody. Stay safe. And guys, I'll touch base with you later. Thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Have a good one.
Yep. Bye now, guys.
Bye-bye.